The mental gymnastics that she had to do to justify what Ash did. My girl practically broke her fucking back with the reaches that she had to make. I was like, I fucking hope that you do not. Welcome back to my channel. As you can hear, I have a cold, I'm losing my voice, and I'm thinking the same thing that you are thinking. This is the perfect time to start a video. So despite the fact that I sound like this, which let me tell you, it's a mindfuck, because in my head, as I'm hearing my thoughts, I sound normal, and then I speak, and there we go, that's better. That's better. Okay, anyway, so I have a bunch of books, new releases that I got from the library, including Murder in the Family and Mr. Magic, and I'm gonna have a due date for these books, and I'm gonna use you as my accountability partner to read these books. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select 3 books from this beautiful pile behind me, and we're gonna read them in today's video, because what a better way to get my voice back to normal than to make a video. It's a no-brainer to me that I'm gonna start with Murder in the Family and Mr. Magic, because I checked these out first. And then the third book that I'm gonna pick from this little pile is Bloom. You've heard me talk about Bloom on my channel. If you're not new here, Bloom is a sapphic horror romance. And let me tell you, I had to put these 2 books on hold and wait for them, but this one was just sitting there at the library, and I was like, wow, the library gods have blessed me. So Bloom, as I mentioned, is a sapphic horror about 2 women who meet at a farmer's market and become very obsessed with each other. Murder in the Family, I don't know what it's about, but the audiobook is also on script, and I've heard that this is very good. And yes, I'm just giving into the hype. I think it's this family who have like a Netflix documentary made about them. Could read the description and let you know I'm right, but I'm not going to. And then Mr. Magic is about this TV show, I want to say in the 90s, that kind of disappeared from existence. People don't really know that it happened, except for this group of children who were the stars on the TV show and are now adults. And Mr. Magic is like a conspiracy theory now. That's a really shitty summary, but if you're not new here, you know that I've read The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White, and I am very excited to read this. I skipped Hyde because it didn't have great reviews. This one has mixed reviews, and it's a library book, so I figured why not give it a go. So those are the 3 books that we're going to be reading in this video. I hope that you're having a lovely December, and let's get into it. To be honest with you, I was not even going to give you this update. Besties, the last clip you would have saw would have been the intro to this video where I tell you I'm sick. Yeah, I have the flu, so that's where we're at. But we're halfway through the family plot. That's not it. Murder in the Family, and my first impressions were this is boring because it's very much following a script format. The whole idea is that you're following a Netflix documentary about this family where the stepfather, a 26-year-old Australian named Luke, was found brutally murdered, and now his stepson, many years in the future, is a film director, and he's opening this like live week-by-week investigation of what happened so that his family can have closure and know what happened. The whole script thing, it's not a script, and I don't want you to think that it is a script, but it has a script-like feeling in the sense like they tell you camera pans over, cut to shot of, a cut to scene this, like I'm just like, I don't care. An interesting way to start. But then when you get into it and you start mentally like picturing it more like a podcast as opposed to like a Netflix show, you really get into it and it picks up. And what I'm loving is like we're getting like these cliffhanger moments, and it really does feel like you're watching a live investigation of a closed case. And I think that is really interesting. Although there is this scene where you're getting the conversations with the family just like via text message, little snippets, because the majority of the story is the whole documentary of what happened with little behind the scenes of what's going on. And I felt like at some point the author revealed something a little bit too much, but now that I'm further into it, I'm like, no, this was definitely strategic on the author's part, because whatever it is that they've revealed, it's not going to be as important as they make it seem, or at least that's what I think it is. But halfway through now, I'm on chapter 11 and there are 22 chapters. There's just been this reveal, and I was like, you got me with that one. You got me with that one. Chapter 10 was so interesting. And this is a spoiler-free vlog, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened in chapter 10, but I was like, that's good. And it's good for so many reasons, beyond just the fact that, like,
nobody saw it coming. The family did not know this. This remained a secret for the entire time. No one knew this. And I was like, I love to see it. But anyway, I continue to have the flu. My voice sounds like this. If you can imagine, it sounded worse a couple of days ago. I'm on the mend, but very much still full of flu. But I'm just doing my little paint by numbers, which I don't like, by the way. But I'm going to finish this paint by numbers, and I'm going to continue with the audiobook. And I'll likely only see you with an update at the end, as opposed to an update 3/4 of the way through. For this reason exactly. Speaking is difficult and painful. I have less than an hour left in the audiobook. And all I'm going to tell you at the very beginning, this book, the audiobook, tells you this is an and then there were none retelling. I was gonna say, I forgot that. I forgot that fact all the way up until we were an hour away from the audiobook, and I was like, how did I forget that? How did I forget that? But I'm gonna just say it is making the story really enjoyable because I'm just like here for the ride. I've been listening to it all night and it's only taken me a few hours. It's not even 11 p.m. So I only have like 40 minutes left of the audiobook, but I am gonna go to bed because my headphones are gonna die. So we'll finish this in the morning. I was listening to the final 40 minutes of Murder in the Family, and I've been thinking about this book all day, and the thing that I was thinking is perhaps I was delirious, because I stand by what I said in that the script kind of format of this, where it's telling you where the camera's positioned and what you're supposed to be seeing, was boring to start with, but adds a lot of interesting dynamics. But if you strip away the whole Netflix documentary, this is just a bunch of people talking, and I give the author credit for this version of an and then there were none story, because having it told as if it were a Netflix like mini documentary series was a way to make that format of people just kind of accusing each other and talking shit a lot more interesting. It was really fast paced, and I was genuinely so shocked by how quickly I was able to finish it. And I enjoyed many of the twists that came up, but remember earlier on I mentioned that the author essentially tells us who it is, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not what's going to happen, because there's no way she would reveal it that way, and I'm not going to spill anything, but I was just like, I see what you did, but you did also kind of tell me what was going on. And so I knew. I don't love how it ended in terms of what happened with the person who was actually guilty of committing this murder. And I feel like there were lots of loose ends, because what was going on with Luke? Like, can we get more story of exactly what happened with Luke? I want to know more about his past and how exactly he ended up on this, like, pathway. And there were a lot of, I don't think red herring is the right phrase. Like, the author was throwing things in to distract us as the audience. And what was really fun about this is that you were an audience of not just the book, but as if you were an audience member of, like, the documentary, and you were watching this as it was premiering on Netflix. I thought that was really interesting, but there are other things I'm like, well, I would have wanted to know what happened with that. And I would say this is more of a family drama with some like murder mystery elements of it, and do not do what I do. It is, and then they were none retelling. Like, you should just know that and go in thinking that. And for those reasons, I think that what was really doing the book a lot of favors was the format and the creativity in that format. But ultimately, it wasn't that interest, and there's only so many times that you can throw the same twist at me and say, but this. I'm like, I get it. You told me the same thing. Now you're just telling it to me again in a different circumstance. So ultimately, I'm giving this 3.5 stars. I am changing up my TBR for this, because I mentioned I would be reading Mr. Magic for this video. I am not going to be doing that because Mr. Magic was nominated for the Goodreads Choice Award. That's a microphone. Hello. And because it was nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards, I am going to be reading that for that video instead. And instead, I'll pick up another one. Dead 11 was also nominated, so maybe I'll pick up Drowning Woman. We'll see, but I'll see you with my next update, where hopefully my voice sounds normal and not like this. I'm gonna be real honest with you, besties. I have no idea where I left you. I'm filming a dozen videos and my mind is spinning, but I think the last time we spoke, I told you I was switching up my TBR, and I decided to start Bloom. This is so short and so small. Like, for reference, that's my hand, and it's how thin it is. like, I fly by it. I've read 30 pages in about 15 minutes or so. So I know that if I read this straight through, I would enjoy it. I think it's exactly 200 pages. And if you don't know what this is about, this is a sapphic horror romance, somewhere in the middle, about this woman named Rosemary Rowe, who lives in this very small town. She just moved there from New York City to have a professor job, and she goes to this farmer's market. And at this farmer's market, she sees the most beautiful girl in the world, in her opinion, and she's very surprised by how deeply attracted she is to this woman named Ash, because she's always thought she was straight. But Ash is perhaps a little bit strange, and Rosemary's interest in Ash maybe borders a bit on obsession. I was saying this in a Discord, but what I really enjoy about this is how well it's balancing emotions and how well it's evoking them, because at the start of a chapter, I'm like giddy and in love and I have butterflies and I'm like, oh my gosh, the author is capturing like this first crush feeling so well. And by the end of the chapter, something weird will happen. Like, her cat is banging like its paws against a glass door and like meowing, and he never does that. And then she sees a flyer of a missing girl on her car and she's like, oh well. And it's just very interesting, and I'm really enjoying this so far. I don't think I'm gonna update you at the halfway point, but I probably will try to, because I heard that the ending gets absolutely wild, and considering this book is only 200 pages, I'm very curious to see where it's gonna go. But for now, I'm heading to bed, and I will give you my update halfway through Bloom or at the end of Bloom. Okay, I'm giving you a much wider view than I normally would, and actually let me unplug the tree because I'm realizing you're seeing flashing right here. It's the Christmas tree light. Anyway, so it's some amount of time later. How much time later? I honestly don't know. I don't remember the last time I updated this vlog, but I think at some point I told you I was updating my TBR because of the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I was gonna pick slightly different books, but still some of my most anticipated mysteries and thrillers and horrors of 2023. So Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. I did in fact finish this book. I'm not sure if I ever gave you an update. If you don't know what this is about, this is a story of this old woman who owns a tea shop in Chinatown in San Francisco. It's not doing well. Her son's really kind of like ignoring her. And one day she wakes up and her tea house downstairs is a dead body. And she decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna take the flash drive off of this dead body. I have absolutely no faith in the competence of the police, so I'm gonna solve it myself. She ends up with several murder suspects, all people who came back to the shop after her announcement that there was a guy killed in the store. And this is more about her relationship with these people and how she brings them all together, how they find family with each other, all of their individual struggles, and just like very cute, wholesome vibes, and very much a cozy mystery. If you're expecting something scary, which with this cover, why would you be? Anyway, besties, don't. It's a classic cozy murder mystery, and I loved Vera. I thought she was such a fun character to follow. She's strong-willed but hilarious and loving, and the descriptions of food in this book, my gosh, were they amazing. They describe food and teas so often, and I love tea, and I was just like, I wish Vera could make me a cup of tea. I really do. It made me want to go to a tea house. So if you're hungry, this book will make you hungrier. And while I love the character dynamics in here, I especially love the little Emma, the toddler in this story. She was so precious, and the relationships between all of the people. There certainly were characters that bothered me, particularly, what's her name? Sana. I understood her struggles and her issues and why she was dealing with like artist block. 100% empathize her there. She is very much unaware of and unaccepting of her privilege and situation within this. Well, at some points she acknowledges this and grows. I initially gave this 4 stars, but I'm ending up with a 3.5 star rating because while I did enjoy it and all of the family dynamics of it, the murder mystery plot within here felt almost irrelevant. I hate to say it. It couldn't be irrelevant because it's what's tied all the characters together, but it wasn't a significant enough part of the story for me. And I also had some issues with pacing in that literally this entire like section here, like these pages, it was really slow, like really, really slow. Like there was a point where the murder is solved, or at least like how the person died is solved. And then Vera kind of just stops the investigation, and there's several chapters where she's not investigating anything. I enjoyed this for what it was. It definitely was really fun, and I would consider this like a favorite cozy murder mystery, but I just don't think that cozy murder mystery is my favorite genre. I would have wanted more darkness in here, something like The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. Not that I think that's what this should be, but the example of a murder mystery that's cozy, that's still really dark is what I was looking for. 3.5 stars, really cute. Would still really recommend this book if you have not already read it and you like a murder mystery. Now, what I know for sure is at some point I told you I was reading Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. I was super into this for the first few chapters, which I mentioned. Just the way the author balances the like fluttery romantic crush feelings with just like this sense of dread. You never know why you're feeling dread, but you are, which I view as like such a show of the author's talent. But the author to evoke these kind of feelings, but also leave the reader feeling like, why do I feel this way? You don't know why you feel this way. You just do. You just feel dread. So I really enjoyed the first few chapters, but I will tell you this book is only 200 pages and I'm almost at chapter 11 now. The chapters aren't even long, but they're feeling long. And it's starting to feel a little bit repetitive. And I think the pace slowed down a little bit too much for my taste. If you're looking for a horror through and through, this has horror elements to it. I would say it's equal parts horror as it is romance, because a big part of this is the relationship between Ash and Rosemary. Now, I want to tell you is that Ash is supposed to be our creepy character. And for several chapters, I was like, you know what? It's Ro who's giving me some weird vibes. Weird vibes. She just feels so emotionally detached from almost everything that isn't Ash in a way that's disturbing. In a way that is disturbing, because she is doing certain things where I'm like, I think you need some assistance, Ro. I think you need some assistance. And then they finally have their first date, and their second date. And I'm gonna spoil a scene here for you, so just be warned, but I wish I had known this before I went in. They are on a date, and Ash runs a farm, and there is a raccoon who she sees. And she's like, oh my gosh, this raccoon is fucking eating my eggs. So Ash goes inside, and Ro is just sitting out on the porch, and she's watching this raccoon kind of clean his little face, and she's like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. And then Ash comes out and beats him to death with a shovel. On page, beats him to death with a shovel. A bloody pulp is the only thing that's left. So like, yeah, content warnings for animal cruelty here. And Ro is understandably disturbed by this, but the mental gymnastics that she had to do to justify what Ash did. My girl practically broke her fucking back with the reaches that she had to make, because she justifies that, okay, well, Ash runs a farm and this is a creature that is going to potentially cause harm to the other animals on her farm, bring disease, rabies. It's eating her, not her crops, her eggs, her chickens, her crops, or at least Ash assumes so. So Ro's like, okay, well, if I'm gonna date a farmer, I'm gonna have to get used to this kind of violence. And I was like, my good sis, Ash has a gun. She could have, in fact, shot the raccoon, or she could have trapped the raccoon. Watching someone beat a small animal to death with a shovel is a red flag. And there's a point where she asks, well, if I was on a date with a man and he beat a raccoon to death with a shovel, would I view that as a show of masculinity and like find that attractive? And I was like, I fucking hope that you do not. That is a red fucking flag. That flag is so red and big that you can see it from space. I'm spoiling this whole scene, but I have to, okay? It's freaking weird. There's this scene where Ro is suddenly very, very, very drunk, and she's thinking, I'm way drunker than I should be at this point, and then she spends the entire next day like vomiting aggressively. And she's thinking, well, I have food poisoning, and she can't find her phone. I'm like, Ro, you idiot. Ash drugged you. She drugged you. For what reason? I don't know. But
but I'm thinking slow poison here. Slow poison. And honestly, at this point, I think that both of these women are a little fucking unhinged. And I'm excited to see who's the most unhinged in the final 80 or so pages of this story. But also within that same scene where she's too drunk and she goes upstairs, she is cleaning the sheets because she spent the whole night sweating into them because she was so aggressively sick. And she just sees this massive like brown blood stain on the mattress. And she's thinking, oh, baby Ash must have had like a bad period leak. And I was like, that much blood dried into the mattress? That much blood, a bad period leak. Maybe, but again, with the mental gymnastics, she is reaching so hard, she's about to pull a muscle. My good sis, why would there be blood on the mattress? That much blood on the mattress. You go ahead and convince yourself that it's period blood. But still really enjoying this. Just want to say that it is getting a little bit too slow for my taste, and I want this to pick back up, which is unfortunately a theme that I've had with many of the books in this video, except for the first one. So we'll see what I end up rating this, but I hate to say that unless this ending really blows my mind, which I have high hopes for, because I know for a lot of people, the ending absolutely blows their mind, and it's what pushes this book to 5 stars. But unless that happens, I think I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. So stick around and see, does this ending actually blow my mind and change my rating and feelings about this story? Oh, bitch. I've gotten to the end. I'm in the final 20 pages of this story, and there was this moment where like Rosemary stood up for herself, because what I was thinking is, this is not a romance, this is a twisted love story, and this is not love, this is obsession. And my girl Rosemary finally had a moment where she stood up for herself, because quite honestly, Ash is so fucking controlling and erratic. How she speaks to Rosemary and how she makes Rosemary feel, and Rosemary's like, fuck that. Like, yes, I like you, but I'm not gonna let you treat me like that. But she says something that I'm like, girl, you do not want to say that. You do not know who Ash is. You keep washing away what she's doing. But like, do you know what Ash is? So understandably, a few days later, Ash is like, I'm so sorry. Write me a poem and come over right now. And Rosemary does, because they have more of a conversation than that. And I'm like, bitch. My good sis. An apology is not what you're about to walk into, and I can tell you that one for free. So I finished Bloom. To be honest with you, I'm feeling kind of sick to my stomach because that ending was gross. Even though I 100% predicted what Ash was, what she was doing, why she was doing it. I can't say what she was doing with it, but know that I also knew that from the very beginning of the story. The author does tension in this story really, really well. Like, even though I knew what was happening, I was still like, my heart was racing, and I was like, ew, no. But also Rosemary herself is like very much aware of how she blinded herself to the things that Ash was doing, and how if a man was doing these things, it would be no doubt red flag and she wouldn't have tolerated it. But because Ash is so cute and small, she dismissed it. And I like that questioning of like the internalized misogyny and perception that a woman cannot be. I don't know how to phrase this. The red flags in a woman aren't as bad as they would be in a man, but I'm like, nah, my good sis. It was just as bad. In fact, it was worse, because Ash is, she is what she is. Now, even though I really liked the writing in this from a technical aspect, and I think that the tension built in this really, really well, I did find it predictable. Parts of this were slow. I didn't believe the romance between the two of them, and I found myself very frustrated with Rosemary, which, let me be clear, was the intention. We were supposed to see that Rosemary was ignoring these huge red flags. Now, the final scene in this book I found disturbing, just because of the situation that Rosemary finds herself in. And let's just say, I would tell you how this ends, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. This is a very, very, very dark story, but unfortunately I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, and I think I'm settling on 3.75 stars. While there are certainly elements of this story that I will never forget, the majority of it I will forget. But the tension and the dread and the building of the relationship between these two was really interesting. But just know that Ash is such a controlling and manipulative character in this relationship, and you will have no doubt in your mind as you read this that this relationship is toxic. 100% through and through, and not just for the horror elements of it. But my loves, that does bring us to the end of this video. Full disclaimer that I did attempt to read Mr. Magic for this video. It's fine. It's just gonna take me longer to read this than I would like, just because I'm not super into it, but I'm interested enough to want to finish it. I'm just not gonna finish it in this video. So look forward to hearing about it in my wrap up, either my mid-month wrap up or my December wrap up at the beginning of January. With that said, thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you are not already. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. Let me know what your most anticipated 2023 thriller or horror or mystery book was, and if it lived up to your expectations. And I will see you the day after tomorrow. Bye.